Okay, hello and welcome to a little video I'm going to make. The explanation to this is basically that because I'm doing my GCSEs at the moment, I won't be out fishing very much. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos, make a couple of videos of some rigs I use just to keep the videos ticking along. Today I'm going to be showing you a rig that I came up with myself. It's got a load of other rigs in it that I've basically put together and come up with this little rig I use it for pretty much all of my feeder fishing, so when you see me feeder fishing, this is what I'll be using. Yeah, I'll talk you through how to make it. Basically, there's my feeder, going up to some beads and some shot and a hook, and I'll show you all about that in a minute. Okay, hey, this is the first bit of the rig. I've already tied on a core and quick stop. They're my preferred method of bait stop when I'm feeder fishing, just because it makes it much quicker. I'm now going to tie on my hook with a knotless knot. This is my hook, it's a size 10. That's good for most carp and bream. You obviously alter hook size if you're fishing for smaller carp or smaller bream or roach or tench or whatever you want. Hook size is really up to you. So I've threaded the line through the back of the eye of the hook. You should always do it through the back because that increases the hooking potential. And then I'm just going to wind the line around the shank of the hook, preferably around 8 times. There you go, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'll do 9 for good luck, there we are. And then you get the tag end again and it goes straight back through where it came, back through the eye of the hook. And then I grab that and I pull the whole thing tight, and then I hold it in my fingers and I pull it tight. There we go, and that is about as strong as you're going to get for a hook hold. That's not going to come apart. And yeah, we'll move on to the next part. Okay, the next part is your feeder part. I've got an Avid carp, size 8 swivel. Any swivel will do really, as long as it doesn't come apart. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie a typical swivel knot, otherwise known as an 8-turn grinner knot. There are loads of tutorials on how to do this. Basically you just whip the line around the other bit of line 8 to 10 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to get the bit of line, the tag end, and I'm going to put it back through the hole that's formed at the beginning of all the knots. There we are, and you grab hold of that, and then, oh, where's it gone? There we go, I've got it again, and you just pull that tight. Here's a top tip, always moisten the knot before you pull it tight. And you just do that with a bit of saliva, and that just makes sure it pulls all the way tight and nice, and then you just snip off the tag end with some nice and sharp line snippers. Now get off, there we are, lovely. Okay, the next part is the business, it's the feeder. This is just a 20-gram plastic feeder. Any feeder will work as long as it's a cage feeder. With this rig you need a cage feeder. Basically I've just snipped off where you're supposed to tie it on, because in my opinion that always falls apart and comes off and leaves you disappointed, and because it doesn't really work with this rig. Now I just you see where I've tied on the swivel with the grinner knot, I get it and I thread it through one of the bits of the feeder like that. And then I just tie 2 granny knots or overhand knots in this. I'll show you why later, but this has saved me a lot of rigs and feeders. Straight over and back through again. Okay, lovely. Okay, I'm afraid my camera person became hungry and left to get some food, which is a bit of a disappointment, but most of the difficult bits are over now, so I can just show you pretty easy. I'll put the camera down, just make sure you can see. Yeah, ish, if it doesn't fall over. Okay, alright, here is one bit of the rig, the bit at the moment. That's the cage feeder with the 2 granny knots tied in it to a swivel. And the other bit, of course, when the camera doesn't fall over, get rid of that so it's not confusing, is the knotless knot here with the core and quick stop on the dial sensor. Now what I do is I've got my rig there, I get a rig bead. You can get these online, tackle shops, whatever. A little black rig bead, and I thread it onto the hook length with the hook and quick stop on. There we go, straight through there. Okay, and you don't have to do anything to that for the moment. Then I get this, which is my feeder to my swivel, and I thread the swivel onto the line just like I did with the bead. And so what I've actually got here is a swivel that's attached to my hook length, which is holding up the feeder. Then what I do is I get another little bead and I do the exact same on the end of the rig here. Just, oh, is the end gone? There we go, lovely. And then you choose how much distance you want between your hook and your feeder. I'm going to say probably about, what's that, about 4 or 5 inches, not too much. And then I'm just going to get 2 shots, preferably BB shot. Here we are. And I'm going to put one either side of these beads to hold it in place. And that basically means that the carp hooks itself, and it also counterbalances the buoyancy of these beads. 1, stick the other on, and 2, and there we are. That is, move the feeder, that is a finished rig there. I'll show you through it properly now and why each bit is useful. Okay, right, this is the finished rig. Obviously, as I've said, here is my size 10 hook and core and quick stop with a knotless knot. That's obviously increased the hooking potential, and that's always good. I call this rig the nervous feeder rig, because basically what quite often happens when, say, that's landed on the bottom, is that fish don't actually eat the bait, they just suck it in. And if your lead is on your line and holding the whole line down, then the fish can't actually suck your bait in because it's being held down and it can't suck it properly into its mouth. Because it's like this, when the fish, where's it gone? When the fish sucks the bait in, it actually has a chance to move away with the bait before it feels the weight of the feeder and hooks itself. And that just means that you increase the amount of bites you actually hook into. Okay, and then this is also what's called a helicopter rig, in that the hook length or the feeder, depending on which way you look at it, rotate around the other during the flight so it doesn't tangle, which is obviously aided by these beads, which also work as shock absorbent so it doesn't snap off on the cast. Now, my favourite part of this rig, and in my opinion the cleverest bit, is the bit with the feeder. Now, I told you to tie 2 granny knots. This is for a reason. I'm not just doing it randomly. I've tied it through one of these little bits here, the little cage bits, just on the edge there, 2 granny knots. And that's because it acts almost like a lead clip. I'm going to struggle to do it with one hand, but basically, if you've got a fish and the feeder, as it quite often does, gets snagged in weed or a snag, then often you can lose the fish or break off your whole hook length. Because this is 2 granny knots, I have to put the camera down. Okay, because this is 2 granny knots, if your feeder gets caught in the weed, then any pressure made by you or the fish will slide the granny knots out and release your feeder. And as you see here, the rest of my rig is fully intact. It's just missing a feeder now where the feeder should have been. And so it basically acts like a little lead clip, and that means you'll dump your feeder if it gets snagged or in trouble. So that's my nervous feeder rig. I hope you use it. I mean, it is a really good rig. It massively increases the amount of fish you actually hook. Okay, sorry, camera just broke. Yeah, as I was saying, it massively increases the amount of fish you actually hook compared to the ones that are in your swim. Because often, if a fish is in your swim, they actually can't physically suck your bait in, as I said, and so it increases the amount of times when fish are in your swim and you do get a bite. And so, yeah, I hope you use it. Thank you for watching. There'll be more rig videos coming up. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. Tight lines, sub and comment, etc. I'll see you later.